They talking basketball. We line up basketball.
Basketball. Yo, what up, everybody? It's your boy Francis, and I'm hosting with my friend Zach, aka Feel the Burn. But before we dive into hoops and everything NBA, a quick shout out to our sponsor, SafeLightCandle.com. Illuminate your home, workspace, or studio with their fantastic assortment of LED lighting at very reasonable prices. And if you want to take your fan experience to the next level, join our Patreon community. Gain access to exclusive perks like our private Discord channel where you can chat with us and stay fully tuned in to all things cave. I might throw in some sports picks while you're in there. And don't miss out, hit that subscribe button and let's kick it off. So what up,
Let's
Zach? How you
go.
do? How you doing, man? How you feeling about the
What up,
NBA
dude?
these days? How you feeling about the NBA these days?
Feeling feeling pretty good. Friday night, just chilling. Good time to throw in a pod. I know we've been wanting to do a basketball pod for a while now. So
Hmm.
I knew that. Started watching a little bit more intently recently, and excited to chat about the NBA as it stands right now, and possibly give some insight to where we think it's going to go here in the next couple of months.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming. I mean, we had our weekly NFL episodes, and now it's time to transition into NBA. So yeah, I mean, let's start off with the current standings right now and where we're at. All right, let's start with the Western Conference. I mean, of course, you got. I think this is from yesterday, so I think the OKC is actually number. I mean, OKC is number one now. You got
Hmm.
Denver number two, T Wolves three, Clippers four, Pelicans five, Kings six, Suns seven, Mavs at the eighth seed, Lakers at the ninth, and the Warriors at the 10th. And then you got the peasants on the other side. I'm not even gonna run through those guys. And
Damn.
then on the Eastern Conference, you got the Celtics who already clinched the playoff berth. Milwaukee Bucks, Cleveland Cavs, New York Knicks, Magic, Pacers, Heat, Sixers, Bulls, and the Hawks. And yeah, you got the other teams on the right. Um,
Peasants.
the Peasants. Yeah, I mean this year's play-in based on that, it's not. I don't think it's gonna be that close in terms of like 12, 11, trying to get into 10th. Um, Everyone in the ninth and 10th seed in their conferences kind of have a pretty big enough lead that I don't see anybody on those right columns for both conferences jumping in.
Hmm.
But I do see a little shift later on um, in those 10th through 8th seeds possibly. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, man, I do want to talk about um, some teams since we didn't really talk about stuff in the beginning of the season. There were some teams that I want to highlight that were kind of a surprise in the sense that I knew they were good, but I didn't think
Hmm.
they would like jump off like crazy. And the first team I want to talk about is OKC. Last year they were in the play-in, and I knew they
Hmm.
were going to be good because Chet was going to come back. Um, but I didn't think they'd be this good. And then some of their young boys like Jalen Williams and Josh Giddey, they provided a really big spark for this team. And yeah, to see them at the number one seed is quite astonishing. I mean, they play a really fresh brand of basketball where there's enough sets. It's not so much one on one, but when SGA needs to get things done, he gets right to it. Um, yeah, have you watched any OKC basketball lately?
Um, Pretty much catching whoever the Lakers are playing.
Hmm.
Until we decided we were going to start running with basketball. So now it's like
Yeah.
gotta start really taking some notes now when I watch these games. No, them being the number one seed in the West at this point in the season is impressive for sure. Um, but this is what this is the the rewards for disassembling the big four that they had
Mm-hmm.
um, back in the day, and so now it's finally paying dividends. It seems like Shy being the focal point of this team too. Him and Chet are really leading this team to some great things, and it's been pretty impressive to see. And honestly, I think it's really good to see too, because when OKC was going through their changes, like yeah, getting all those picks is good and everything, but you still have to hit on those picks.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously having more picks gives you more of a chance to not mess that up, but you still got to make the proper decisions and when you're creating this roster, and it looks like they're finally paying. It's finally paying off for them, and they've been pretty fun from what I've seen to watch. And I don't think it's any surprise that their success is also spotlighting Shy in the MVP race, which we'll touch on later. But
Oh yeah,
um, like it's impressive what they're doing in OKC for sure.
yeah, man. In terms of yeah, OKC, man. I mean, in terms of like offensive rating, right now they're ranked third, and even in defensive rating, they're not too bad. They're ranked top fifth. So those factors are gonna get them a bunch of wins, and they're young, so that's why they can just run so much. I mean, they got Lou Dort and Jalen Williams. Those are like great wing defenders to have whenever you play. When you're gonna come across the Nuggets eventually, you need to be able to guard the people like Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray. Um, but yeah, and then Chet. I mean, he pretty much had a whole year just to last year. He got injured before last season, so they just rested him. But he was just pretty much conditioning and training to get prepared for the season. You could see it. I mean, he's a bona fide star. I feel like he's gonna come into his own eventually, but I still think the Thunder are too young to get to the finals. I
Hmm.
I do feel like they're capable of getting to that Western Conference Finals, but they do have to get past some grueling series against some veteran teams. But towards the bottom of the West, you still got Warriors, Lakers, and Suns who have veterans on their team that can shake up. I mean, we saw last year the Lakers, they got in through the play-in and they went all the way to the Western Conference Finals. So anything can happen. I'm really excited for the playoffs, but yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about OKC. And I feel like Shea is gonna, if it's not Joker, it should be Shea to win MVP because Shea is just freaking incredible. His pace, his ability to change speed and just make tough shots. What I love about Shea, his ability to finish in the mid range really sets him apart from a lot of the players right now at an efficient rate too. So yeah.
It's like always been like a secret weapon of like basketball players. Like if you can hit that mid range J at a high level, that
Hmm.
opens up the rest of your repertoire for what you want to do.
Hmm.
Um, because then it's like you can pull up from anywhere if you
Hmm.
want. Or if the defender crashes on that, you can just drive right past them and then go to the hoop. So, um, you know, being effective at the mid range is definitely a very valuable asset to have.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Another team I want to talk about too that I was not expecting to be on top of the West is the T
Mhm.
Wolves from Minnesota, man. I mean, I knew Ant Man is nice, but I had a feeling since he came off a World Cup tour last year, FIBA,
FIBA, right?
he's
Yeah.
yeah, he's gonna come in like really fresh and ready to go, and it just shows right there. His athletic ability, number one, is crazy. His defense and pairing that up with Rudy Gobert and Cat, Cat and I feel like Rudy Gobert really accepted his role as just I mean, he's always been a defensive player, but now he's like number three in terms of offensive touches. Um, it's just letting Ant-Man do his thing and going to work. And Cat, I mean, I've always been kind of a Cat hater because I don't know. I feel like he's kind of weak a little bit, but he improved a lot this season. I have to tip my hat off to him. He found his role and was able to. He's playing defense now, which was one of his weaknesses. So when you have
Hmm.
pretty much two centers, they put Cat at the power forward. It's tough for offenses to score in the paint, especially nowadays. You don't really have bigs, traditional bigs like before. So when you have kind of like a twin tower setup to guard the paint, you have to force teams to hit tough shots from the outside. And and yeah, I think that's been their success. I mean, let me see, pull up their stats right now. Yeah, their defensive rating. Let me see. Defensive rating, they are listed as number one,
Mm,
right above Boston.
that'll
So
play.
that shows like why they are where they're at right now. And yeah. And then offensive rating, they are okay offensive rating. Not the best offensive team. They're 18th, but if your defense is number one and you let Ant-Man do his thing, you're gonna get a lot of games, a lot of dubs under your belt, especially during the regular season. But similar to what I've said, um, similar to what I said about OKC, I'm not sure about Minnesota going all the way to the finals,
Hmm.
uh, just because they're young still, and I think Ant-Man needs to experience the playoffs first to really feel the pressure. Because I mean, you know how it is. It's a 7 game series. There's a lot more attention to the game plan. There's a lot of counters to other counters because there's just so much film after the first 2 games, and
Hmm.
it just that's when it becomes a real chess match.
Yeah, with the 7 game setup, um, you find a lot about what you're facing. I mean, you can anticipate it going into the series, but those first 2 games definitely give you enough evidence to be like, okay, either we're gonna be able to come back and match this, or it might not be, the right matchup for us. So, last year the T Wolves were in the play-in, right?
T-Wolves are in the play-in. Yep.
Yeah.
But
So it's just another one of those teams too from the play-in last year, and now they're,
yeah,
sitting there
now
pretty high up in the conference, which is great.
yeah.
Um, I'm kind of with you. Like, I don't know if that experience in that play-in is enough for them to, like, I guess, channel in terms of like how to respond to different things. Because you get in these playoff matchups and having to deal with runs and stopping runs on the road, or even at your own house, like when the crowd gets quiet, you can definitely feel that. Um, you know, so uh, that being said, I've I've been the opposite of you. I'm a Cat fan. Um, my favorite player of all time, and I think I said this on the pod, is Shaq. Like, I
Mhm.
loved watching Shaq play, so I've always been. And I know I've said this on the pod because this always gets a chuckle, but I'm always a fan of for basketball. I love the big men.
Mhm.
So if you like the power forward and the centers, like if a team has someone that's skilled down low, um, I feel like that's a recipe for success. You need to build into that. So Gobert and Cat down low, to me is smart to build on, and then you have Ant-Man going off
Mhm.
on any given night. Like, that's a big recipe for success. Obviously, big fan of defense, so them being number one, I think bodes well for their chances. So now it's just a matter of if the experience that they have had in intense games during the regular season, and obviously the play in last year, seeing if that could be something for them to build upon, and then now we're starting to talk about the Wolves as
Mhm.
a new threat, just like we were with the Suns, because that was a concern a couple of years ago with the Suns, was they hadn't had these games in these scenarios in these buildings where they needed to like step up and play up the intensity. Because we all know, I mean, you and I are both Laker fans, and we know like
Mm-hmm.
LeBron gets it, AD gets it. Like they're
Mm-hmm.
kind of just playing it chill. I mean, we would hope that they don't end up in the play-in. It's kind of looking like that, but like so that way they can get some breathing room and have a playoff series. But like they can turn that shit on. We've seen the
We saw it
vets that
last year.
know
We saw it last year.
exactly. Last year
Mm-hmm.
playing to the conference final, they just went up against their kryptonite.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll get into that later for sure. But
Yeah.
um, when you have a team like Minnesota, if they run into a team like the Lakers, if they run into a team like the Clippers, who have those vets on that team that know when to turn it on and off, that's where I feel like they can run into trouble. So
Yeah.
they've been fun to watch though for sure. Like I said, big Cat fan. I like what he can do on the court. Rudy Gobert, he's getting more offensive touches, which is always great. Especially if he's committing to it and trying to perfect that craft
Mm-hmm.
and, build on that because he's only been known as a defensive guy. And, so I'm excited for the Wolves, to be honest with you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's gonna be it's fresh to see new teams up top and how it all goes. Really quick before we move on, I do want to give a shout out to Michael Conley, who is a to me is a dark horse as to why the T Wolves are also successful. He's a veteran
Okay.
point guard that knows he doesn't need the ball all the time to score. He's a true point guard. He sets up, make sure everyone's in their spots, and he's smart. He's not as athletic or quick as he once was, so maybe sometimes that's a liability on defense. But maybe it's because when you have the two towers on low, it doesn't really matter. He can force defenders or offensive players to the paint. But yeah, seeing Michael Conley still thrive in a role uh is great. There you go. Yeah, he's been in the league for more than 15 years already, so
That's
it's
crazy.
great. It's crazy that he's still a major piece to a playoff contender. So yeah.
It's actually pretty funny that you're bringing up how long he's been playing because I'm watching a highlight right now of
Mhm.
Oregon and Arizona from their Pac-12 tournament game tonight,
Oh, nice,
and
nice.
I think Oregon ended up winning this game, which is kind of a shocker, but that's beside the point. Yeah, they won. They beat Arizona. Fuck,
Oh,
that's
nice.
crazy. Um, but I remember Conley playing. I'm 99% sure, so I'm going to go ahead and go on record with this that he played for Ohio State.
Yes, he did.
Um,
He did.
he was with Odin, right?
Yes, he was a Greg Oden. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
There's me with the big man, dudes. I love them. So I actually remember them playing together in college, and it's crazy to think about how long ago that was. Because like I hear that name Mike Conley, and I'm like, oh, man, it's probably been in the league like 8 years, 9 years,
Yeah.
15.
Yeah.
Yikes,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
We getting old, boy.
I know, dude. We're getting up there in age, dog. It's crazy. Like I'm using a microphone; it's not even plugged in.
Oh, there you go. A little OG pick of Michael Conley.
Damn, dude. Greg Oden too. I just want to say,
Oh, Greg Oden.
we knew we were gonna get off tangent here a little bit, like a couple times because we haven't been able to talk basketball for a while. But
Yeah, yeah.
I had high hopes for Greg Oden, dude.
Me too, man. Me too. I mean, he looked really good. Just them knees, though, just couldn't hold them up.
Him and Bynum, dude.
Oh yeah, same with Bynum. Yeah, same.
I have his jersey still. Might throw that on one
Hey,
day.
hey, he's part of the back. Hey, Bynum played a key role in those back-to-back Lakers championships. So
Definitely believe if we would have had him in '08, we would have beat the Celtics.
that's my argument too. Like a lot of
Yeah,
Celtics fans, like, oh, we didn't have Kendrick Perkins in 2010 Game 7. Well, we didn't have Andrew Bynum the whole fucking series,
a
so we had
whole
to play.
series.
We had to play Pau Gasol at the 5 and 08. I feel like I don't know if we would have won because it felt like everyone on the Celtics team was hitting from all cylinders, but I do feel like it could have went 7 games with Andrew Bynum on there.
A healthy Andrew Bynum, like
Yeah.
Glenn Davis would not have,
Yeah, yeah.
been able to dominate like he did. And Powell wasn't ready for that shit yet.
Yeah, yeah, he wasn't.
That was before Kobe ran through his chest in the Olympics, right?
Yes, yes, right before.
Oh, coincidence.
Yeah.
Yeah. No shit. He needed Powell to get tougher, and look at what happened.
All
Ah.
right.
Anyways.
Yeah, next team, last team I want to really quickly touch on who has been a surprise this year. We'll
Hmm.
move on to the Eastern Conference. Is the Orlando Magic. Boy, they were not good last year. And I'm being nice. I mean, Paolo
It's been a
Banchero
while.
or Banchero or is it Banchero or Banchero?
I
I don't
I was
know.
gonna ask you, but I think it's Boncaro.
Okay, Banchero. He's really good. I mean, even last year he was
Hmm.
really good, but this year like the Wagner brothers, um Cole Anthony, Markel Fultz, they just
Hmm.
have a nice thing going on over there. I mean, very similar to I mean, I don't think they're as tiered high as T Wolves and the OKC Thunder, but
Hmm.
the Orlando Magic are fourth in defensive rating this year, and that's just a big attribute to why they're placed in their standings they're at right now. And I feel like they can make some noise in the playoffs in the first round and maybe give a give one of those top contenders depending on the seeding in the second round, a run for their money. They're just I don't think it's their time to quite shine yet, but Paolo Banchero is amazing. He is like a really I mean, you say you like power forwards. He's like a really he has the game of a traditional power forward while still maintaining the game of a stretch four, or he can play three sometimes as well. Um, but yeah, man. I mean, I haven't watched. I mean, that's the thing with basketball, man. Like, it's so hard to watch all the games, especially when it's like a East Coast game starting at like 4 or 5 when I'm still at work and I got to do stuff after work. But
Yeah.
just catching their highlights. Um, I mean, they're fun to watch. Uh, Wendell Carter Jr. Is a great defensive player, and Markel Fultz. Uh, I know he hasn't. He was kind of. We kind of talked about this. Me and Jermaine before the pod how Jason Tatum was drafted by Celtics right after the Lakers drafted Lonzo Ball, but freaking Sixers drafted Markel Fultz, and I mean he was kind of good in college, but something happened with his shot, and I don't know what happened exactly, but I'm glad he's kind of finding his role now on a team where they actually want him. So
Hmm.
yeah, just wanted to touch on the Magic real quick. Their defense has been good, and if you're playing in the Eastern Conference and you're playing good defense, more than likely you'll have a solid record like the Cavs and
Yeah.
the Knicks. Um, Given the fact that the Eastern Conference is very, let's just say the talent is not as good as the Western Conference.
Yeah. No, the conference talent, this or parity or disbursement, whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
It's definitely clear that the West is the better of the two. Um, but the Celtics are making it look pretty easy there over in the East. They're pretty dominant this year. The Magic, I think they're sitting at 5 right now, which would put them in line to play the Knicks, which is another team that I think we've talked about this on this pod last
Mhm.
year,
Yes, yes.
how we were kind of fans of the Knicks and what they were doing.
Yeah.
Obviously, us being Laker fans, Julius Randle's our guy.
Mhm.
Um, so following the Knicks has been something that like is easy to do a little bit, but the East Coast feed, like you said, like us having to start watching at 4 p.m. I'm still at work at 4,
Yeah.
so it's tough
Yeah.
to see these games unless they're playing someone out here. And then when you see them play out here, it's like, oh shit, like the Clippers smoked whoever. Like for example,
Yeah.
if they play the Magic, it's like, oh, the Clippers beat them by 15. It's like
Mhm.
that's not really fair to the Magic,
Yeah, yeah.
because they're playing a definitely more superior talented team. Um,
Most
so
def.
it's pretty funny when we think about playoffs with basketball. Like, yes, one conference is better than the other, but the games are equally as entertaining.
Mhm.
Um, Especially last year in the East, all those games were close competitive contests,
Mhm.
and it's just it's when you get down to the finals and like the conference finals where you get to see the separation.
Mm-hmm.
Or I don't know how much noise Orlando's going to make. Um, I I've always kind of liked Orlando though, like as like a team. Like I remember when I was a kid, one of my dad's friends got me like a pack of pencils, and it was like every NBA team
Mm-hmm.
from the league. It was like one of those weird like number
Yeah,
two pencils, but they were all logos.
the Magic
Um,
logo is tough from back in the 90s logo. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
the,
you knew where I was going with that.
the
It
peace
definitely stuck
triangle.
out.
Yeah.
Yes, and this was back when like the Cavs were like the old school Cavs logo too. This was
Mhm.
like mid '90s, early '90s.
Yeah. Casual had that,
But like,
that orange bluish logo. Yeah.
yeah, and so I always judged by like how,
Yeah, that's the
yeah,
one. That's the one. Yep. Yeah,
yep,
I feel you. I gravitated towards that logo. I just thought it looked so cool.
it's pretty tight. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the blue and the black and the silver and like the colors kind of work together. But like I always used to like judge like how much I liked the team based on how like tall or small the pencil was because I would use it more, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, always kind of like the Magic. Obviously, when we played them in '09, hated them.
Yeah.
Uh, Jameer Nelson, Turkoglu,
Mhm.
uh, God, Dwight Howard.
Oh my God.
Um, that's crazy. They had a squad, dude.
They had a squad, dude. They beat LeBron James in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah,
I was kind of. I mean, let's be real. I wasn't nervous about the Magic, but you know,
they had our attention for
they had
sure.
their attention. Yeah.
Them beating the Cavs the way they did with Braun. And it's funny because that was when all the puppet commercials were going on with like Kobe and Braun, and we were supposed to get
Yeah.
that shit in the finals.
Yeah.
Dwight Howard said, "Nah."
Yeah. They said, "Fuck that shit."
I think was Peja on that team?
Gary Payton?
No, Peja
Oh,
Stojakovic.
Peja. No, Peja. It was
Yeah, he
Hito.
was on that team. It
It
was
was
he
Hito.
do.
Hiru Turkoglu. It was a Hiru, Rashard
Jameer
Lewis,
Nelson.
Jameer
Oh,
Nelson,
Rashard Lewis.
JJ Redick was on that squad.
That's right. Young JJ
We have Michaela Petrus, and that's all I could remember from.
Petrus.
Yeah.
So all that to be said, they kind of have a soft spot for me in the East. I hope they do well.
Yeah.
It's cool to see a team that was obviously struggling. I think we said this with the Thunder too. Like they were struggling for a while there. Got some picks. Oh, Lewis. And they got Paolo over there leading the charge. Got some other good pieces in there too. Markel Fultz seems to have found a little bit of a groove, which is nice. Some swag. So who knows? They can make a run. I just definitely think like it's the Celtics conference to lose.
Yeah, definitely. And before we start talking about like the main top contenders, I do want to say that a common denominator from all three teams we just spoke on, they have a bunch of young players that played in FIBA World Cup. And I just feel
Hmm.
like that always gives players an advantage, especially when you're young, because you're not just training in the off season, you're actually competing at a high level. I mean, Shea played
Hmm.
for Team Canada. Ant-Man, obviously Team USA, Pablo Banchero, Team USA. But then the Wagner brothers in Orlando, they played for Germany.
Hmm.
And then I believe Lou Dort in OKC also played for Team Canada too. So just want to throw that out there. I feel like it's very beneficial for young players who are looking to make that jump in the NBA. I think it's a nice step for them when they get that international exposure in the off season and transition back into the NBA training camp. So yeah.
I definitely want to add to that because basketball seems to be one of those sports. I think hockey obviously similar too. In that when you get a chance to play international games, um, and you play for, let's just say like whatever motivates you to play, right? And when it's your country, a lot of these guys I feel like tend to tap into a different level of competitiveness
Mm-hmm. Oh,
when
for
they
sure.
play under those circumstances. And when you're playing against dudes that aren't like pro, like for hockey, for example, if you're playing against dudes that aren't in the NHL, but they're playing for team, Slovenia, like
Mm-hmm.
that's all they got. So
Yeah.
they're playing balls to the wall 100% all the time.
Yeah. They
So
got
when you're
nothing to
playing
lose.
these FIBA tournaments, you're playing against dudes that have nothing to lose.
Mm-hmm.
And it brings a different kind of style and different kind of game and vibe to these games, which I 100% believe is beneficial.
Yeah.
Um, so it's kind of no coincidence that you bringing up, these guys playing with FIBA and how it seems to have translated into some success over here in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
When there's definitely a lot of dudes that are willing to take a night off to save their legs for Sunday night or Sunday basketball on ABC, the
Mm-hmm.
showcase games. That's when you're gonna get most viewers.
Yeah.
Um, and these wins kind of just tend to add up, they tend to stack up and when you give these young teams momentum, that could be dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
So something to
Yeah,
be said
man.
about that.
Great point. All right. Next team. We're gonna start talking about them big dogs. You feel me?
Contenders.
The contenders. You brought up the Celtics uh just right before this. So let's talk about the Celtics and how they are just dominating the Eastern Conference. It is their conference to lose, especially with Embiid out. I don't see him coming back
Hmm.
at all this season. Um I think the Celtics are just gonna make it to the finals again. To be honest, I don't. I feel like they will make it to the finals this year. I feel like the addition of Porzingis, um,
Game changer.
game changer. I mean, now Porzingis doesn't have to be. He's not a good number. We all knew he wasn't a number one. He wasn't a great number two because they tried that in Dallas, but he's a damn good number three option, and he is thriving in that role. And when you got them boys like them young boys like Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown who
Hmm.
are just lethal on the wings, and you got Derek White just knocking down threes, open threes. Um, it's a recipe for success, and like they've had their core for so long that when you just add like that missing piece who can help like Porzingis, I think that kind of brought them to the next level.
Yeah, for sure. Again, KP, Porzingis, big dude. I'm a fan. Um, he he has a unique skill set that he provides, and him being added to the Celtics with what they already had adds a different layer and dimension to that team. Um, Before we get too into the Celtics, as a Laker fan, how do you feel about the Celtics? Because like I always thought it was weird when I would talk to older heads that I would grow up around that were Laker fans, and it always seemed like that like Yankees Boston type of rivalry,
Mhm.
like Ohio State Michigan, and I'm like I didn't get to experience that. Like, do you feel like it's like a rivalry like the old heads say it is, or do you just like
It's
kind of just buy
definitely
into it because it's like because we know it's supposed to be like oh, okay, so we're rivals, but like since I've been watching basketball, I mean it's always highlights of old ass games except for that one NBA finals that we had.
hmm yeah, for sure, man. I mean, what I buy into it a little bit, but I also don't want them to succeed. Like if they make it to the finals
Okay.
and play the Nuggets, I'm gonna root for the Nuggets. If the Lakers will
Yeah.
make it to the finals, like if it's anybody in the, well, let me ask you this, uh, just to add on to it.
Don't no, don't do it. I know what you're gonna ask. Don't do it.
If it's a Clippers Celtics finals,
Ah.
who do you want to see win? I might have to say Celtics, honestly. Like I don't want them to
Damn.
be.
I was gonna
Yeah,
say Clippers.
man. I'm just saying. I'm a Clipper hater. I'm gonna be honest with you. I never really hated the Clippers until I don't know if you saw there was billboards back in 2020, but I used to drive around LA a lot, picking up
Mm-hmm.
supplies for my business, and there's
Mm-hmm.
these all these bullshit.
LAR way or whatever.
Yeah, LAR way, like street lights over
Oh yeah,
spotlights, like
I remember.
we over me. I'm like, bro, like
Mm-hmm.
I already know what you're
Covering our
doing.
banners with Lob City. I remember. I
Yeah.
remember.
So
But I was on a road trip one time. I think this was 2015, and went on a road trip to Chicago with some buddies from the Air Force. And we were sitting there waiting to go watch like a Cardinals baseball game, and they were playing Sunday Night Baseball. And we were sitting in like they have this little area outside of Busch Stadium. Like Fox Sports Midwest was like housed there, and
Mhm.
we were sitting there eating pregame, and it was Rockets Clippers, and it was the game when the Clippers were up. I think they had a chance to clinch the Western Conference Finals, and they blew it.
Mhm.
No, Western Conference
Yep.
semis,
Yeah. I remember
and
that.
they
And like
blew it to the Rockets.
Josh Smith just hit like a bunch of crazy threes.
Yes,
Corner, yes.
and for me, um, I just kept thinking like, man, this Clippers team is fucking cursed, and it's hilarious
Hmm.
because I've been in Staples Center, or former Staples Center, um, to watch a Clippers playoff game. I think they played OKC, and that was dope, dude. Like that was Chris Paul, Blake Griffin. And I think the OKC core was still intact. And I paid $30 to go sit like front row up
Damn.
top, like upper deck. And it was just like,
Yeah.
just cause I could. And I had a ride there,
Hmm.
it was a last minute decision.
Yeah.
And I saw CP3 hit a buzzer beater,
Nice.
like a runner in the lane and hit it. And it was tight, but they haven't won shit.
Yeah,
So
dude.
whenever I hear a Clipper fan talk, it's always like, that doesn't mean nothing. So I feel like it would sit better with me if they won one over the Celtics because we're still trying to chase the Celtics
Yes.
for most titles.
Yeah, we're tied
So
right now.
all that to be said, like I think I'd rather root for the Clippers.
Okay. No, I think that's
And they're leaving. They're leaving. We kicked them out, bro. A couple weeks
yeah.
ago, we kicked them
Valid
out.
point.
They're done.
Valid point.
Go to the
Hey.
toilet bowl over there in Inglewood, dude. That stadium's gonna be sick, dude.
If the Celtics, wait, the more sense, if the Celtics are in the Western Conference, where do you
Ooh,
rank them? Ooh, that's a good question.
that is really good. Probably, honestly,
I
probably
f-
first.
I don't know. I think Nuggets are still better than the Celtics because who?
Yeah, but the Nuggets are below the Thunder
That's just the
for the
standings. Like
standings.
power rankings
Oh, I
have
see what you're saying.
have the Nuggets at number one. I would say the Celtics would be number two, just because Porzingis can't handle. The last time they played,
Jokic.
Jokic just ran that boy over. I mean,
Yeah,
bro, it was
I feel like
crazy.
there's a history there, dude.
Yeah, there is.
There's some European bad blood, dude.
Yeah, I would put Celtics second though.
Celtics too. I might put them at one. I like the way they're playing. I don't like the jerseys they're wearing. I don't like Boston, but
Mhm.
I might have them over the Nuggets because like the Nuggets will lose some weird games, dude.
Yeah, but they're in that chill mode where they can just they're seasoned vets now. I mean, they won a freaking championship,
I
so
hate that so much, dude.
let's stop talking about the Celtics. They're good. It's Eastern Conference is for them to lose. Yada 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 yada. Let's go to the Western Conference and
All
start
right.
talking about the Nuggets, who I think personally, as a Laker fan,
Yep.
I think the Nuggets are going to repeat.
Mm.
I just feel like Joker is just. I was at the Lakers Nuggets game when LeBron scored 40,000 points. And well, that's another. We'll talk about Lakers
And
coaching and all that
lost.
later. But Joker is insane, bro. Like seeing it on TV and seeing it live, just his ability to like hit shots in the post with people in his face. He's just too strong, and the way the NBA bigs are built these days, he's like the only person I see that can somewhat contain him is Joel
Yeah.
Embiid, and he's not even
Yeah.
in the picture this year anymore. So
Mm-mm.
that is the reason why I feel like the Nuggets will repeat. They and then you got Jamal Murray. He's getting healthy.
So annoying.
Freaking Michael Porter Jr. He's that game. He didn't
Ah,
miss any shots, bro. He
nothing.
was
10 of 10.
10 for 10. Like I could.
Dude.
I was talking to Laker fans in the stands. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like I was so mad, bro. Like,
This motherfucker can't miss.
yes, exactly. And I just see if anybody
Ah,
um in the playoffs, and the thing was like they just have I mean, I'm a casual when it comes to NBA level talk, but the
mhm,
sets they were running, like they just when it was crunch time because it was close for the most part, Lakers Nuggets game, and seeing
mhm.
them, long
Yeah,
they're not a very they'll get out in transition when they can, but they're so strong in the half court when they slow everything down and they
have
just
to be.
get into their plays. Joker sets a screen, catches the ball, someone's running off him. You don't know if he's going to hand it off or
Or
take it
just
in as
pop a
well.
shot, dude.
Just pop a shot. It's like so many
Oh,
options, so many counters to how if a defense is playing a certain way, they're going to have counters. So yeah, that's kind of my thing. And then I mean, if you want to do stats real quick, I mean,
well, for me, Jokic is um, annoying to
hmm
watch. But I also respect the shit out of him because that's how I feel I play pickup games.
hmm
Like like a facilitator first mindset, but if I got some space, like I'm gonna shoot it.
yeah,
I'm gonna put it up, you know?
hmm
Um like I've always been I'm short as shit, but like
hmm
I kind of try to always have like that big man mindset. Like I always like to play down low. Um, I'm gonna try and use whatever level of advantage I can find down low and play scrappy and try and go for rebound and just make those physical hustle plays. But at the same time, like have some finesse.
hmm
And Jokic has officially like succeeded in finding that perfect mix of being as big as he is and also excelling at pretty much every aspect that he can on a basketball court at a very, very, very high level. Um, it's pretty insane to watch. And with that Laker game, like it was close, but the Lakers could never just like stop them for a significant amount of time to be able to like go on their own run that was meaningful. Because as
exactly.
soon as they would start making a couple shots and like the Nuggets would miss one, then it's like, okay, Porter hits a three. It's like, what the
Yeah,
fuck?
yeah, man.
Or Jamal Murray just hits a fucking three. And it's just like a dagger. Never moving on from LeBron. Um,
When are you? Hey,
but
to be honest, I want to move on right away.
do you really? I want him to
Yeah,
retire in purple and gold.
I mean, shit. I mean, yeah.
This dude is still putting a number. Okay, we'll save our Laker talk for Lakers,
We'll say,
but
yeah.
for the Nuggets, Jokic, Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray is probably more frustrating to watch than Jokic is. Um, and it almost feels like even if you stop everybody but Jokic, like you're still probably going to lose like 7 times out of 10.
hmm
If you just let Jokic cook and you try to defend everybody else, Porter, Gordon, Jamal Murray, you're probably still going to be in for a bad night. And if you just let Jokic cook and try to serve everybody, it's just like, oh man, it's just there's like there's no set way to stop the Nuggets. You just almost have to hope that they're going to have a bad night.
Exactly. And then another factor is they're just huge. Like Jamal
Yeah,
Murray's a point guard
everywhere.
and he's like 6'6", and then you have KCP, another 6'6" shooting guard,
KCP,
and then you
miss
have,
that
and then
dude.
you get, and then yeah, I know me too. And then you have Michael Porter Jr. He's like a 6'10" small forward, and you got Aaron Gordon at the four, just an explosive, another 6'9" power forward. Then you got Joker. Like across the board, they're just made for championship basketball in terms of just build as well. So,
Yeah.
but enough about the Nuggets, man.
So we got your
All right,
Celtics, Nuggets. Who else we got?
we got two more teams. I mean, we should save. Let's save the
Are they
best for
LA
last.
teams?
Yes, they're LA teams.
Oh, okay.
Let's save the best for last, though. So let's talk about the Clippers. Let's talk about the
Okay.
Clippers real quick.
Yep. Big
They
four.
they they acquired James Harden,
Mm-hmm.
and it looked like it was going to be a shit show because they lost like what 8 or 9 games in a row. I don't even know what that number was, but
It was a rough start.
rough start. But they figured it out, and they honestly they look really good. I was also at the Lakers Clippers game when the
Hmm.
Lakers came back, and
What a game.
that was sweet to be at. But I will say, uh, Clippers are good. I mean, the thing that holds them back is their size. A lot of the times they play really small. You got Westbrook, Harden, Kawhi, and PG in at the same time. Um, there's gonna be threats on the wings. The more 76 Nuggets going to be
I
compared
was
to
going
the
to
Magic.
respond to that right now. They have to win this year.
Yeah, yeah. I think if they win this
If
year,
they
they can be a legit dynasty.
if they go back to back, they need to be in conversation.
Yeah.
It feels like it. So with the Nuggets, it feels like the Chiefs.
Hmm. Definitely. They have a little bit more to prove.
Hmm.
But yeah. Anyways, shout out to that more 76.
Yeah, way to be interactive, dude.
Yeah.
Appreciate y'all.
Appreciate the questions. Built for a long run. Yep, yep.
Yeah, and with Malone calling the shots,
Mm-hmm,
head
mm-hmm,
coach.
mm-hmm,
Um, he seems to. I feel like with basketball coaches, and we'll probably get into this when we talk about Lakers. I don't feel like they're as important as they're made out to be. Like in other sports, coaches are more important. But he seems to have a really solid handle on Denver Nuggets basketball, and he's
mm-hmm.
a big reason why they're successful.
Yeah, I mean your coach has to fit your players. So Frank Vogel succeeded with those 2020 Lakers because it fit his style. But then when you got all
Hmm.
these other players, then it was like a shit show. But anyways, Clippers, I don't see them. I mean, I don't know. It. I feel like they can make a run if they stay healthy, but who knows what happens? Because Westbrook has a hand broken. I think PG has been in and out of the lineup. Harden is dealing with some shoulder issues. I mean, and part of the playoffs is, like I said, when it comes to the best ability is availability. And
Cliche, but it's true.
will the Clippers have all their team available in the playoffs, healthy and like at 100%? I feel like that's the only way they can make some noise. I mean, they have Zubac. Um, these three guys who really never seen them out. Yeah. PG, it's a threat because when I was watching the Laker game, I mean Kawhi. The only reason why the Lakers won is because for whatever reason the Clippers stopped going to Kawhi in the fourth quarter. But
Yeah, it was weird.
Kawhi was just like a great mid-range. His game honestly reminds me a lot like Kobe. His footwork,
Hmm.
his mid-post game, and he's just strong and plays defense. So it's gonna be tough. I mean, I feel like if they run into the Nuggets in the Western Conference Finals or in the playoffs, wherever, like Joker's just gonna take them apart because Zubac is a solid center, but he's not that good enough to keep up with Joker. And then, but yeah, a lot of talent there. But I don't know. Do you think the Clippers are gonna stay together? Because this is PG's contract year, and they didn't extend him. There's rumors of him signing elsewhere if Clippers don't meet his salary expectations, and I'm not sure what James Harden's Clippers contract is. He might be on the last year, but yeah, we'll see.
So, first off, before I get into the analysis on this team, how do you feel about their rebrand and their new jerseys, as you seen in this picture right here, with their
Hey, they're
move to the Intuit Dome?
they're pretty clean. I just didn't know a boat was a Clipper. I guess that's their new logo is a big boat. So that's kind of weird, but the jerseys itself, they're clean. They're clean, but I'm just glad they're into a dome now. I will say I'm going to try to catch a game next year into a dome because
Oh,
it looks
yeah,
dope. Yeah, it looks dope.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I'm
I like their idea of the wall. I don't know if you heard about that.
yeah, yeah, only Clipper fans and
Yeah, good
yeah,
luck. But it's a cool concept. Ballmer definitely, like, I'll give him some kudos. Like, he really wants this team to be successful.
Hmm. Hmm. He's willing to put the
Um,
money for it too.
the jerseys kind of grown on me a little
The,
bit.
the white one is clean. I like that white
I
one.
like the white one the best out of the three. I I will always applaud a team for trying. Uh, and they've always been little brother, at least like for me and my mindset. Obviously, to people outside of where we live and how we grew up, it's different. Like I heard a lot of conversation when when I was in St. Louis about that, and me being like a fan, everyone was clowning on the Lakers.
Hmm.
But the Clippers didn't win shit, so it's like it's no sweat off my back.
Yeah.
I like that they're trying that into a dome. I'll tell you what, I go to SoFi a lot.
Hmm. Hmm.
In between off seasons of the 2022 NFL season into the 2023 NFL season, that fucking structure came
Hmm.
out of nowhere. It's already
Yeah.
like it was already almost done. There's a parking structure if on the bottom left of that picture was
Hmm.
put up before the skeleton of the Intuit Dome. It was a very fast process. Um, Super impressive. Uh, I definitely will try to catch a game there. I try to go to at least one basketball game a year. It's a little
Hmm.
tough. We get kind of priced out being Laker fans.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but Clipper games have always been more affordable, so I'm gonna try my best to make it into there.
Let's
All
go,
that to
man.
be said, I think that um, the Clippers could win the West this year.
It's possible.
Um,
I definitely
I
agree.
think they have a really good shot. I think more so, like my mindset, more so than other typical, Laker fans that you see, the ones that are vocal and obnoxious, like that's with
Yeah.
every fan base.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, the Clippers, blah, blah, blah. Like this Clippers team, I think, was built for the playoffs.
Hmm.
Um, there's been enough playoff experience between those four to where I feel like they're gonna have to be out there, and they know they're gonna have to be out there, and this might be their only shot, like to
Hmm.
to actually get there,
Hmm.
as a collective, because those salary numbers are gonna be super high next year.
Hmm.
Bomber obviously will pay it, but that's neither here nor there. Um, they're probably my number two team to watch in the West. As of right now, based on everything that we've seen
Yes.
and kind of what I project. I think it's going to be Clippers Nuggets if I had to put money on it, with an outside shot for the Lakers, obviously, because LeBron does stupid, crazy
Hmm.
shit that we can't comprehend. We've been trained to hate it,
Hmm.
pretty much since he's been, a high school kid. So everything kind of gets downplayed. I think people still forget who the fuck Anthony Davis is. So that being said, though, I do think this might be probably the best Clippers team that I can remember.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I'm right there with you. If I feel like they're the only team that can give the Nuggets a run for their money in the West.
Hmm.
Um, so we'll see how that goes. The Clippers might they're kind of like the that one team that what's that? The Cowboys. It's like they always look good, but then come playoffs, something happens and they just choke.
You run into the fucking worst seed in the NFC and you get blown out by 20. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's where, obviously the entertaining part of this show comes in is like, haha, LOL Clippers. Um, I do think it's telling that these three were the ones that they put on this advertising for their rebrand. I don't think PG is going anywhere,
Yeah, I
to
don't
be
think
honest
so.
with you. I think Harden's there to stay.
Hmm.
Um, but I mean, you ready to talk about the Lakers? Like,
Let's
are they gonna
do
win? Are they gonna win the whole thing this year?
it. I sure hope so, but fuck, man, it's
Why do
so
they shoot
devastating.
themselves in the foot all the time? Any chance they get, Darvin Ham just like, let's make this incredibly difficult on ourselves.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, let's beat like OKC and a bunch of other good teams, and then let's lose to the Kings on a
Ugh,
consistent
hate that.
basis. Oh my
Hate
God.
that shit, dude.
Oh my God.
Nobody understands losing to the Kings more than Laker fans. Like,
Fucking hate it.
I detest that shit.
But yeah, the Lakers. I mean, you just don't. The only thing my biggest gripe is you just don't know which Lakers team is gonna come out. Is it gonna be the championship level Lakers team, or is it gonna be the stupid Lakers team that doesn't want to do like watching them? Even the Nuggets game, they played pretty well up until the last point, but their coach being in that Laker game and watching me and my cousin Johnny, we were at the game and we were like, why is Rui guarding Joker? Is that like was it come off? Or did it come off a switch? Like I don't know. It was just
Well, it's
because
because it worked that one game in the playoffs last year,
oh
so
my
it's gonna
god,
work again.
oh my god, it didn't. And Darvin Ham was just
No.
like, let's keep doing it for all 4 quarters and not put our best defensive player on Joker for crying out loud. And the thing is like Darvin Ham is just he just I feel like he doesn't have a plan sometimes. Like he has a plan and doesn't want to stray away from it. He doesn't adjust on the fly. Like
Yeah.
eventually, when they figured it out, they just ISO Joker on the post, and then the help. Like to me, from what I saw, is the game plan was double team Joker and have Rui guard him at first. But if you're gonna double team him, send the double team early, like right when he catches the ball, and like have Rui fight him so he can get position in the post. Don't let him just get position in the post. But then he catches the ball, does 2 dribbles, 3 dribbles. Then Anthony Davis comes, and it's too late. The shot's going up already, and it's just things like that. And on offense, there's no real set. Like sometimes it takes them 14 seconds to get into their offense, and then it's already 10, 9, 8, 7. There's no sets. It's just 1-4 down, LeBron at the top, then send Anthony Davis up top to the screen. It's so predictable. Like the defense is not even working. There's no screens on the back end, no pin downs. I don't know, man. It's just frustrating to watch sometimes. I mean, and then you watch the games like when they played Timberwolves and OKC, their defense is incredible, their offense is flowing. I don't know. I just don't get it.
So the oblivious Laker fan of me is like, well, they're not going to show them how to play defense in the regular season. They're going to wait to bust it out in the playoffs. But that's probably not true. Like watching that game, I when with the Lakers, I try to see how like the body language is, right? And it just never felt like there was any confidence, and there hasn't been for a couple of years now. Whenever they play the Nuggets, um, when they play other teams like Clippers, they come out with a different kind of swag. They
Mm-hmm.
almost play like carefree, and it like works, you know. And when those
Mm-hmm.
shots are falling, and the Lakers are playing the way that they can play, um, specifically when the shots are falling, like no one can beat this team in seven.
Yeah.
But there's something about the Nuggets, and now I guess the Kings too, which is unfortunate. Like Sabonis just dominates AD.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's just like you said, what team are we going to get on this night? And unfortunately, even when Vogel was here, it was like we never like that was still a question. Like when PJ was running the ship and Kobe was there,
Mm-hmm.
you knew what you were going to get, no matter what, no matter where we were playing. You were playing in the Garden, we were playing at home, we were playing in the Boston Garden, we were playing in Memphis. Didn't matter. You were going to get the absolute best effort. Period. Shots weren't falling. Tip or cap. Move on to the next game. Go to Houston. Figure it out. But it's almost like this team kind of plays to how they feel like they're going to before the game starts, which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
We should have lost that Clippers game. Didn't. Thought that was going to be like the win that triggers Laker greatness.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you can always translate back to when the Lakers won a championship to something in the regular season that happened where it brought out the best in the entire team, and everyone remembers that, oh yeah, I play for the Lakers, so I need to be great, and then they just started becoming great. To that point though, D'Lo has been impressive. It's exactly what I've been wanting to see from him. Um, him being an original drafted Laker, uh, I'm very partial to him and want to see him succeed, especially in purple and gold. Um, so that's been great. I just hope it can be consistent because if he can play at the level that we all know that he can, even with what the trends have been with the Kings and the Nuggets, like an all NBA caliber D'Lo is going to be the most important piece of this team come playoffs.
100%. He needs to be aggressive and hit some shots for us. Like there's LeBron and AD need some help, and it has to come from D'Lo
Hmm.
or Austin Reeves. But I feel like D'Lo has a little more pep to his step when it comes to clutch moments. I don't think Austin Reeves is quite there. Austin Reeves is just like a really good role player. Um, but yeah, man, I agree with all those points. It's just so frustrating it's so inconsistent, and I don't. And to me, I feel like the reason why we struggle against teams like the Kings and the Nuggets is because Anthony Davis really isn't a true center. Like
Yep, I know exactly where you're going.
when we won the championship in 2020,
Hmm.
JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard were always playing five. They
Hmm.
were Davis always played at four. And when we got Jackson Hayes and Christian Wood, I thought that was going to be the route. Like even though Jackson Hayes and Christian Wood, they're not the best centers, but serviceable centers in the NBA. I thought they would start them, one of those two, play AD at four, LeBron at three, D'Lo two, Austin Reeves at one, and then bring whoever you need to off the bench.
Hmm.
It's just if they're gonna stick with Anthony Davis at the five, I don't see us succeeding because that's what happened last year. I mean, it succeeds up to
Yep.
an extent, right? But when you have to get if you're gonna get to the top of this year and win the chip, you're gonna have to pass through Denver. It's gonna come through Denver. And if you're not able to match up with them correctly, then it's a game over. So that's my only gripe with the Lakers and the Rob Pelinka and why didn't they get like a true center that could at the five that could
Yeah.
not stop Joker, but contain him a little bit, and then yeah, maybe you put AD on him for a few minutes, but then get that center back in and then put him on Joker. So
Yeah,
that's
like
my
be
only.
enough of a threat to where Joker is going to be able to respect it,
Hmm.
and it gives everyone a little bit of a breather because you have someone that can hold their own and be physical and give it back. Joker will make his shots because he's Joker and
Yeah,
he's really freaking good.
yeah.
But somebody in there that can provide a presence,
Hmm.
and obviously it's just based on what we've seen, it's not going to work with AD down low, playing the center position traditionally, which is unfortunate.
Hmm.
Because when we traded for him, I was like,
Dude, I was so happy.
me and Big Man, you know what I'm saying? Like, I love this.
Hmm.
But then having, McGee and Dwight, it really um, allowed for AD to be the player that he wanted to be
Hmm.
and to be the player that was going to provide the most amount of success for the team and himself.
Hmm.
Um, he is that kind of like smaller dude trapped in a big man's body. So we just kind
Hmm.
of expect it because of how he looks and what his, measurements are.
Hmm.
But he's really not that dude. He's not a brawler down low.
Yeah.
He's more of a finesse guy. He's gonna pull up. I mean, he'll get at you defensively, and
Oh,
we've
he's been
seen
great.
that.
Yeah, he's been great
Like
defensively this year.
he can do that, but he never seems to be able to body up in the clutch when it matters most against the physical dudes.
Mm-hmm.
and it's just unfortunate to watch. So um, the Christian Wood and Hood experiment, I think is going to be what keeps us from achieving greatness this year. But hopefully, the optimist in me um, hopes that can be turned around here when it
Yeah,
comes to actual playing time and when it matters the most.
yeah. I mean, there's still. I mean, we're still missing key players. I feel like Jared Vanderbilt is a key player as well.
Mm-hmm.
He's a great defender. Obviously, his shooting and his offensive game isn't the best, but um, yeah, he's a great asset to have on defense. So hopefully when hopefully he comes back by the playoffs because definitely need his
Yeah.
defensive prowess. But
Who else are we getting back to? We're getting back someone else, right?
I don't know. I mean, Gabe Vincent, hopefully, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's too late because now Darvin Ham is finally figuring out the rotation, like fucking 65 games in, but he finally has his rotation. And I don't know if Gabe Vincent is just
God
gonna
damn.
be. I think he's just more of a extra body in case injuries come out because he's missed so many games this season. He might ruin the
Mm-hmm.
flow of the rotation, but I don't
That's a
know.
good
We'll
point.
see. We'll see what Darvin Ham has in store. He's just gonna. I don't know. I really. I'm so frustrated with his coaching decisions. Sometimes, and like sometimes when Nuggets go on a run, it's like call a timeout. Like, why are you just letting this happen?
Yeah, the amount of times I was calling for a timeout in my own bedroom watching that game
Mhm.
was unfortunate.
Yeah.
Ah,
All right, but
but
yeah,
it is
still
what it
hope.
is.
It is what it is.
Yep.
All right, almost done with the show. I have no idea what I'm doing. That's a good picture.
I got my control over Debo.
Yeah. Oh
That's what
man.
Braun says on a nightly basis.
Yeah. Almost done with the show. Real quick, I do want to talk about MVP talks. I mean, just it's
Okay.
kind of it's kind of obvious on who may win this season,
Yeah.
but oh man, it's crazy. The Joker might actually win back to back to back. But I do feel like you can make a case for Shea just because
Mm-hmm.
the way the how improved the OKC Thunder are. And if you take them out of the equation, OKC would be in the same spot they were last year, if not worse.
Yeah.
I do feel like Shea should win this year because although Joker has been playing insane, I feel like I also just don't like want to give anybody an MVP 3 times in a row. That's just like
But
voters
why
like
though?
to me it's just like the MVP for that season, who has given their team the most boost. So if you obviously you take out Joker off the Nuggets,
Mm-hmm.
they're gonna fall down, right? But I don't think they're gonna fall down the standings that much this year because they've built such a strong unit that I still see them being like top 5 team in the West, top 6 team in the West without Joker. But if you take Shea, oh I'm sorry, give me one sec. If you take Shea out of the Thunder, they're gonna be a ninth, 10th, 11th seed in the West. So that's my
Okay.
reasoning. And I also like to think of voters fatigue as well too. At some point, you're just you're not gonna give a guy 3 MVPs in a row. Um, so that's just my chain of.
So
Because if you
this
were,
is
I mean,
where,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
well, I have a feeling I know where you were about to go with that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this is where my whole thing on the MVP, like my view of the MVP, is um unique. If you're saying the value of a player, right? If you're saying they're the most valuable to their team over any other player to their own team, like it really comes down to what you view as valuable, right? So you had mentioned, and I like the argument of well, you take this player off their team, where does that leave them? Right? And you put them on a different team. Hypotheticals, right?
Hmm.
So is Embiid in your conversation?
Embiid was in my conversation if he was healthy this year.
That's well, he isn't. So he's in essence taken off of the 76ers. And how are they doing this year?
I mean, he was my favorite to win MVP this year because he was playing
Mm-hmm.
out of his freaking mind. But goes to my line. The best ability is availability.
Okay.
So if you're not really, I mean, yeah, it's cliche, it's hypothetical to take them off the team, but when they're really off the
Yeah.
team, then then you're not the most valuable player.
And my other thought process is this whole idea of voter fatigue. Like you're trying to find the best, most valuable person to the team, regardless of if they've won it before, who they play for. Like you're trying to put value onto a person, right? Onto a player, onto their team. Um, which there can also be a counter argument of like, is it like the most valuable player as a basketball player as a whole, or like to just the Nuggets or the Lakers or the Celtics or whoever?
Mhm.
Um, so like this conversation and this like voting result and criteria can get very construed and blurred because it just
Definitely.
depends on what you the voter and you the person view as valuable, right?
Hmm.
So all that to be said, for me, it's still Joker.
Hmm.
What he
Yeah.
brings to the Nuggets and how he plays and what he does for that team, um, and how he's just consistently, to me, the number one option on arguably the best team in the league. Like he has to be the MVP.
Hmm.
Now, I will give some love to Shea. You know, um, I will even give some love. I think Luca was on there.
Luka goes on. I mean, he's
Um,
playing out of his mind too, but
he's fucking phenomenal to watch, right?
hmm
Um, obviously Kawhi is probably in that combo too.
I think Jason Tatum's in that conversation as well.
Yeah, Tatum for sure.
Yeah.
But it's just like in viewing all those players and just kind of lining them up, um, to me it's still Joker.
Hmm.
And the fact
I
that
mean,
he's won two in a row is irrelevant to me. Like
yeah.
it's still you take the evidence from what you've seen, and then it's like, is it the MVP of the regular season? Which honestly, with all the convo about load management and how things are constructed in the NBA, like if you're getting people's nights off and you're putting up 45 and 15, like how valuable is that when you're not getting the absolute best from the other team?
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, it's a
It's
valid
tricky.
argument. It's
It's
tricky.
only tricky in basketball.
Man, it's fun, so funny. And you know what? Like, if you were to, I say Shay as like if I were to, I were.
We haven't even brought the fucking Suns this whole show, dude. That's crazy to me. The
Listen,
Valley.
that's how NBA is so crazy because there's so many players, and I, when we outlined it, I was like, we're gonna miss a lot of good teams and players.
Yes,
We
unfortunately.
just don't have the time to talk about everything right now. And we originally planned out for like a 45-minute thing, but you know, means
Here
had to
we
do
are.
stupid shit, and here we are. It's a minute 15
Yeah.
already. Um, but since if I do also think Joker is going to be is the MVP, but if I were just to based on trends, I think
Oh,
Shea. That's why I'm choosing Shea. If I had to put
okay.
my money, if I have to put my money on it, I have to put
Okay,
it
here we go. Yep.
On Shea
Okay.
because it's hard to see a player do MVP 3 times in a row. But with that being said, maybe Joker is may be the first person to do it because he's so damn good this whole year. But I still think Shea's gonna win it based on the trends and what how he's playing.
So, when we look back on prior MVP winners, right? Like,
Hmm.
you and I have been in unique positions to where we've seen shenanigans happen, right? And it's
Mm-hmm.
because of shit like that. So in the with like the lens of what you believe is right and what you believe is wrong, that's kind of where I operate. And like
Mm-hmm.
to me, like Nash should have never won over Kobe. LeBron should probably have at least three more MVPs. But
Seriously, yep.
that's where you say like the voter
Mhm.
fatigue and everything, blah 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 blah. It, it-
I,
you're
I just
arbitrarily robbing greatness, dude, from people, and that to me is wrong. Like
hmm
you give Kobe that back to back MVP, and you throw LeBron three more MVPs, then it's like there's obviously I'm playing into a little bit online on X with the done with the '90s. LeBron can't dribble, or MJ can't dribble to the left or whatever.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
hilarious to me, right?
It's so
And
funny.
like
Yeah, it's so fun.
how everybody put in like who'd they play back then? Like, well, yeah, they played different rules, but also too they weren't as athletic and strong and fast as they are now. So
Mhm.
the whole concept of what's valuable, and this is where I'll give like the voter fatigue the benefit of the doubt. Like with basketball, there's so many different ways, at least for me and how I view basketball, to be successful.
Mhm.
Like you can be the size of LeBron, you can shoot like KD. You could also be like Jokic, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
just be a bad motherfucker on the court.
Mhm.
And not as athletic as everybody else is, some others, and just be a dude out there, right?
Mhm.
Um, and it really falls back on to like what works like for a sustained period of time. And right now, to me, there's no more dominant force in the NBA than Nikola Jokic.
Yeah. Yeah, you're
So
right.
to me, like that takes precedent over voter fatigue
Mhm.
and Shea, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Um, because, like I don't feel like Jokic is getting bailed out with Jamal Murray or Porter or, Aaron Gordon on any given night. Like he's almost the reason why those other three can be as great as they are.
Mhm.
Like that's
Yeah.
how valuable Jokic is and what he can bring to an NBA court.
Mhm.
Um, so that's just how I view it. It's very complicated in the NBA to vote for MVP and to what you seriously and can honestly articulate and quantify for your reasoning behind picking an MVP in the
Mhm.
NBA. It's tough.
Yeah, super tough. I do want to bring up, so I wanted to double check my statements.
Hmm.
And actually, I totally forgot. Joel Embiid won last year.
Oh, there you
So,
go.
and then I'm looking at the past history. Like LeBron won back to back in 2009 and 2010. Then
With the Heat.
2011, yeah, with the Cavs,
Okay.
2009, 2010. And then
Oh yeah, he was
2011.
fucking carrying El Galskis with them
Yeah, yeah,
and Delonte West.
yeah. And then 2011, Derrick Rose won the MVP. And then again, it was LeBron James 2012, 2013. So, that being said, the voter fatigue was broken last year because Joker won back to back, and then Joel Embiid won.
This dude should
So
be going for a four-peat right now, or is that what you're telling me?
no, I'm
This dude?
saying I'm saying he's gonna go for his third one. It's not a four-peat because he went back.
No, no, but it arguably should be a four-peat.
Mm, like
There's an argument that is there that like Jokic should have won last year, but they gave it to Embiid
mhm,
because of voter fatigue, and now we'd be talking about Jokic
yeah,
going. That changes
yeah,
the legacy, dude.
yeah.
That put it okay. Let's just play this game, right?
hmm
Jokic. I'm putting on like I feel like I'm putting on my chef hat right now, or like my Jarizi hat right now, my mask on right now. If if Jokic wins the MVP last year, and solidifies that 3P, right? Never been done before. And this motherfucker would be going for a fourth this year
Mm-hmm.
and an NBA champ and possibly going back to, dude,
Yeah.
that alters a legacy in a way of which like we just live in this world where we have these online arguments of goatness, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're letting people who write the stories and write the opinion articles and they write I'm getting on my soapbox right now. They control the narrative
Yeah.
of what to look at and what matters, right? And they're the ones voting for the shit. And to me, like that's a lot of power. They'll downplay it. Like if you call a writer out on X, they'll downplay this shit and they'll play the victim and all that. But
Mm-hmm.
it's the same thing how I view with like baseball writers in the Hall of Fame. Like you're gonna tell me that there's only one unanimous MVP or a Hall of Famer in the game of baseball ever? No, there's plenty of people that should have been 100% voted in. Like everyone can see this guy's resume and watch them play. Like Griffey wasn't unanimous. Someone voted that thought that they don't think Griffey should be in Hall of Fame.
It's
Like
bullshit.
these guys, it's see, this is where I have a hard time with these GOAT arguments and um and the information that gets spewed and relayed out to the public because you can just now, right? Now you could be like Jokic is like he wasn't a 4-time MVP or whatever. If he would have won four straight, that is such a big like argument like booster to his greatness.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of taken from him because what people were tired of voting for him for MVP.
Exactly.
Come on.
Yeah. No, man. I mean, like you said, there's so many instances where certain players should have won and they just didn't win,
Mm-hmm.
and it's because of the people in the media who have the power to vote for the MVP. I wish there
You
was a
know
little
what's
bit
really
more.
funny?
What's that?
The all those people that want to trash LeBron, right?
Mm-hmm.
And want to bring him down or kind of like not think of him as greatly as they could. They should have been rooting for Jokic to win MVP last year because if you would have now want to talk about LeBron's greatness and let's say Jokic wins the MVP this year,
Mm-hmm.
you could throw Jokic's name against
Yeah.
LeBron
Yeah.
and Jokic 4 MVPs in a row and two-time NBA champ. Like, slow down, LeBron lovers. Like this, did you see this dude over here? This
Mm-hmm.
European guy just dominate the league for 4 straight years.
Oh man,
So it's just kind of funny how this stuff works. Dude.
that's crazy. So many things can be rewritten if it's hindsight's 2020, right? So,
Yep,
like you said, like Kobe should have at least one more MVP, like
at
without a
least
doubt.
one more.
Yeah, he should have two, but Nash got back to back, and like you
I
said,
love Nash.
yeah, I love Nash too, but he didn't deserve that second one. It should have been Kobe.
Nah, yeah, 100%. We know
Uh,
that, but hey, but because we're Laker fans, it's like, oh, you're just a Laker fan. You don't know what we're talking about. Like, look at the analytics. Like,
yeah,
okay,
here.
look at the roster Kobe was carrying those years. What
Yeah,
are
exactly.
we talking about?
I mean, he like if Westbrook won an MVP with his team being the eighth seed, Kobe should have won the MVP that year when he was going crazy.
That's what I'm
But
saying.
since he was coming off that Colorado court case, the media wasn't really liking Kobe at that time. So,
Man,
rest in peace, Kobe. I miss that
what
guy.
a suit that was. I know. Can you imagine if he was here? Anyways, no, it's
Yeah.
not. Let's not start crying.
All right, guys. Well, we're hitting that mark. It's time to wrap things up. It was nice talking with you, Zach. I mean, we're gonna do this basketball thing a little bit more often, especially
Yeah.
with playoffs coming through. But yeah, before we sign off, I just again want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, SafeLightCandle.com. That's SafeLightCandle.com. Illuminate your home and workspace with unbelievable, fantastic LED lighting. And yeah, again, you want to communicate with us and chat more and be engaging in our community, join our Patreon community. You can get exclusive perks. We can talk shit to each other about basketball. We can bet. We can bet on sports. I'm a big bettor. Not a big money wise bettor, but I like the action. Yeah, that's make sure you check that out at K4V3. And yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say.
Always a pleasure, dog.
Always a pleasure. Good night. Good night, y'all. Peace.
Adios.